Okay, everybody. I'm Leland Barrow from the University of Georgia. We'll be starting this Zoom in a minute or two. I want to ask everybody, please, if you have a question, please do your raised hand on your Zoom and we'll come around to you. If you're not asking a question, please get on mute. Coach Smart, can you hear us?
Can now, yes.
All right, let's start out with an opening statement, then we'll take questions. Coach Smart?
Yeah, just finding out the news today of the CFP and the 12-team playoff, and obviously we'll be headed to New Orleans to play in the Sugar Bowl, and we are super excited. We've got great connections down there, a lot of friends and guys we've met over the years of playing there in the Sugar Bowl. So we're excited, and obviously we don't know our opponent yet, but we've got a lot of time to work on ourselves and try to get better. And that's the biggest thing right now is what's important now. And what's important now is for us to keep trying to challenge ourselves and find ways to get better.
All right, we'll start with questions. Jordan Hill?
Yeah, Kirby, I saw on the ESPN show you mentioned not having an answer yet on Carson's situation, but given that you guys have essentially a month to get ready for the game, just how valuable will that be if, in fact, you guys have to turn to Gunner?
Yeah, I certainly think, I mean, there's no good script, right, for losing a quarterback or having to go to your backup. There's not a great script for it. It certainly wasn't a great script last night to have to do it against the number one team in the country on defense. And have to do that at halftime was tough. But this situation does give you time if that's what has to happen. I mean, there is time there, but I mean, experience is so valuable, and you can't really get experience in this amount of time. I wish he'd gotten more game experience up to this point in time. There's not a lot we can do about that right now. So we're just waiting to find out more information.
And next up, Chip Towers.
Yeah, Coach, just a little bit on, now you're in the Sugar Bowl. You mentioned on the show, talking about how so much of this is out of your control and especially with the way things are seated. But I guess if you could touch on that a little bit for us, but mainly, you're going to be in the Sugar Bowl. You're playing on New Year's Day in the Sugar Bowl. There's a lot of tradition where in Georgia football history when it comes to that game in particular. Can you just talk about that?
Yeah, tremendous amount of history. I know as an early child, it's one of the first games that I remember actually seeing and watching back in the early 80s as a 5, 6 year old kid, and Herschel Walker and the moments that happened in the Sugar Bowl, all the way through a lot of games I've been a part of, whether it was Florida State, Georgia, when I was a GA at Florida State, a lot of years at Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. I think my kids think their second home is the Sugar Bowl because they spend a lot of time there, and they're very spoiled when it comes to playing in electric atmosphere, big matchups, big games. The SEC's been paired with the Sugar Bowl for a long time, and it's got a long-standing history, and Georgia does too.
All right, next up, let's go to Palmer Toms.
Yeah, Kirby, you mentioned the Carson update. Just wanted to ask about Brett Thorson as well. What update do you have on his status?
Don't have much. The MRI was done this morning along with Carson's, and we're waiting results on both those.
All right, Allison Mastrangelo, you're up next.
Hey, Kirby. Yeah, I was just following up on that because I know you said it was going to be a few hours until you got the results. So is that you thinking like later tonight, or you don't really have any idea yet at all what Carson is dealing with?
Yeah, again, I don't know because I'm not following. I got a lot of other things going on. They'll reach out to me once they do know something and get back to us.
And just how is the mood of Carson? Did you get to see him at all? Just how is he doing through all of this?
Yeah, he was at a team meeting. He was, I think he had just gotten back from the MRI, so I think he was pretty somber. Tough deal for him in terms of not being able to go out there and finish in the second half. But he's also excited for his teammates and happy that it ended the way it did, and ironically, he got to be on the field for that.
All right, next up, Mark Weiser.
Kirby, you mentioned you have a good amount of time before the next game. How much of your attention will be on the transfer portal as it relates to your own players, and what plans they may have, and then what needs Georgia might have?
Yeah, that's all part of what we do. I mean, we're recruiting 26s right now. We're evaluating tape. We've got guys to watch of our like our future opponents, the teams we've got to watch. We're always, talking and dealing with our players, which will be time that'll move to the forefront like right now in terms of what we do. But then we'll start back practice and we'll continue to get better with the guys that want to be here. And there's not going to be a team in the country that doesn't have somebody leave, probably somebody they don't expect. But I've almost feel like that's become the norm, and it is what it is. We're going to coach the ones that want to be here.
All right, Ted Lewis, do you have a question? Ted Lewis, are you with us? Do you have a question? All right, anybody else who has a question, please do your raised hand and we'll get there to you. Chris Gordy, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, just curious your thoughts on these two teams. How much have you gotten to see them at all this year, and just kind of the challenge they both pose?
Yeah, Chris, I would be remiss if I even commented. I mean, other than knowing Kurt Signetti and Coach Freeman, having immense respect for both of them and the way they lead their programs. I was on staff with Kurt and have competed against Marcus Freeman in his years there at Cincinnati. So I can't say a lot about them. I really haven't had a chance.
All right, Palmer Toms with a follow-up.
Yeah, along those same lines, just what will the balance be like between looking ahead at those potential opponents versus working on yourselves, whereas in the past you've known who you're playing in this time off?
Yeah, there won't be a big difference in the balance. We commit 75, 80% to ourselves and growth and development and trying to get our team ready and backups ready. We're always going to be working at us, and then we're going to spend time on our opponents. And it's very similar to an off week for us where we work on 2 or 3 future opponents. We'll continue to work on 2 future opponents in this case, not knowing the outcome of the game.
All right, Ted Lewis, we'll give you another try if you can connect with us.
Come on, Ted.
Yeah, come on, Ted. All right, Mark Weiser, go ahead.
Sorry, I had to unmute everything. Kirby, what can you tell us about Ham as a punter in case Brett is not able to play with you guys? Obviously, Brett's had a terrific career.
Yeah, I hope his career continues. He's got more time with us, and I still don't know the outcome of it. But when you reference Ham, you're talking about the backup kicker.
Well, who's the one that came in on the fake? Who was that?
True. So that's Kirby Smart last year. So he would be our punter, and we think he's really talented, and he does a great job, and he's worked really hard to get the opportunity, and he punts every day in practice and does a tremendous job. He's a very highly recruited kid who we got a lot of confidence in.
Anthony Dasher.
Kirby, just one more Carson question. Were you ever told exactly what he hurt? I think they said it might have been hand, but it looked like it might have been shoulder, arm. I mean, what can you tell us about that?
Elbow area is what we understand it to be. I mean, at the time, I didn't know walking off the field. I wasn't sure. It looked like it could be shoulder, like it could be wrist. It actually looked like the blow or the contact was to the wrist/forearm area, but the strain or pain was around the elbow.
Next up, Roddy Nabolsi.
Kirby, what is your schedule between now and the bowl game? Is it the same 15 before, or how do you work it out? Do you have the 20-hour limit? What is your practice schedule between now and the Sugar Bowl?
It's up to the coach. I mean, we have parameters that we use. I've got a model that I've used for years in terms of number of practices you want to get before you break for Christmas, number of practices you want to get afterwards. But there's not school right now, so we're not in a 20-hour week. We have flexibility there. They have to get a day off each week, which most coaches in their right mind give them more than one day off a week. At this point in time, you tend to do every other day, or you do some workouts. I've got a plan of what we're going to do, but as far as parameters, there's not a lot of parameters. You can do about what you want to do as long as you're smart.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll go to Seth Emerson.
Kirby, how much of when Gunnar went in, how much was kind of changed on the fly, and how much can you, if you have to go to him over the next month, how much do you have to kind of tweak the offense?
Well, I think his strengths are somewhat different than Carson's, obviously, and but we've known that. Like, there's not a game we don't go into that we don't have a plan for Gunnar if he were to have to play. I mean, when he's your backup quarterback, he's got to be ready to play. But he functions and operates really well within our current offense. We don't think we have to change much in terms of that. He does give us the capability of doing some different things with his athleticism, and I thought Mike and those guys did a good job using that. The team has a lot of confidence in Gunnar. He's very smart, very intelligent. So I don't know that it's a lot of change. It's probably more picking the volume correctly in terms of not having everything that we have with Carson, but having things that fit Gunnar.
All right, Eric Olson.
Hey, Kirby, Eric Olson of the Associated Press. Wanted to ask you, I know you can't speak specifically about Indiana as you noted, but just as far as the story of what Kurt Cignetti has done there this year, kind of what's your take on that, just the way they've kind of captured the imagination of the college football world?
Yeah, it's been really, really neat, really cool. I thought it was awesome to see some of their games on a national stage this year, and their team transform really the whole campus and energy around their program. Kurt has brought a lot of notoriety to Indiana, and it's interesting because I've enjoyed watching it because I know Coach Cignetti. You know, my years at Alabama, I was a really young coach and enjoyed being around him, and his personality is different. And I really like Coach Cignetti, and think I followed him wherever he's gone. He's done really well.
All right, we'll go to Mark Schlabach.
Kirby, if you've got to go with Gunnar the rest of the way, where are Puglisi and Jaden Rashad at in their development as potential backups?
They're both getting better, man. They've grown a lot since the start of the year to now. Think about all the reps they've taken. They've taken a lot of reps, and they get better and better and better. You know, I wish there were more game opportunities for them, and there just haven't been a lot of game opportunities. So when they don't get those game opportunities, we come in on Monday and we go scrimmage. We call it opportunity period, and we let Jaden or Brian, Coulter, all those guys get reps, and they go out and throw and compete and do third downs and do move the field and get reps against the defense. And that's their growth because we're not getting it in quality game time.
Got a follow-up from Chip Towers.
And can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. Coach, so much happened in that game that we're not able to visit this, but can you recap just sort of the conversations and decisions you were making on that last play that Carson got hurt? I know, you know, that with the clock and everything else, do you try a long kick? You know, what was the thinking there, and how did y'all end up deciding what you decided?
The play before he got injured was the play that we wanted to set up a field goal. Most teams, including the NFL teams, when you have a certain amount of time that you feel like you can burn a timeout, catch the ball, get down. If you remember that play, I think it was maybe a hard count play, and they jumped, and we know when they jump that we've got a free play. And the goal was to get in field goal range, which we felt like was somewhere between the 35 and 40, probably closer to the 35 would have been realistic to make a field goal attempt. And that's the play that I think we threw the interception on. Carson threw the interception on, but there was a penalty. So we got 5 yards and we lost time. And I think at the time that we decided to throw the Hail Mary, there was only 3 seconds maybe or something left. And at that point we couldn't throw it out a quick game. We didn't have enough time. So the opportunity there was to take a shot at the end zone. And that's what we did. We actually did it the week before and needed to work on it. We worked on it this last week to try to get better at it. And just unfortunate they rushed 4 instead of 3. And he's got to locate the defender and know where the guys are coming from and try to avoid them. And at the end of the day, we're good with a sack there. Like if we don't get the ball off, it's okay. Just take a sack, because last thing you want is a sack fumble, which almost happened.
But you were out of Woodring's range, you felt, for sure, at that.
Absolutely out of his range. Yeah, I mean, to win a game, we could do it to attempt it, but we mark off every week in every venue we play in what you would try to win a game at versus what you would do at the end of a half. And if you remember, we had that situation against Georgia Tech, and probably had too much wind on that one. We didn't get a chance to get it to the end zone.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Zach Klein.
Hey, Coach, I'm still surprised Gunner held on to the ball after he got his bell rung. Did he go into concussion protocol at all? And if you did not score in overtime on that play, was he able to come back in?
Yeah, he was fine to come back in. Gunner, I don't know exactly if he checked with the trainer, but when he came off the field, we were all talking to him about that he could go back out as long as he was cleared. He could return to play, and he was conscious, fine, moving around, communicating. I mean, most of the time they go into concussion protocol. It usually is a more severe targeting, or there is a indicator for Ron and his staff. And I don't even know, because I didn't talk to him. I was talking to Carson at the time, and it never came to fruition.
All right, we'll go to Mark Weiser.
Kirby, you've talked about how you have less depth pretty much almost everywhere than in past seasons. I wonder if you could tell us, 1 or 2 or 3 spots or positions that you think that you might be looking to identify talent in the transfer portal.
I don't understand your question.
Are there certain areas that you need to shore up when you evaluate your roster that you think, you'd like to look in the portal to see if there's someone that could help you?
Yeah, all of them. All of them. There's not a position that we don't have enough depth at. I mean, like I repeatedly say, we have less depth than we've ever had before. So we evaluate the transfer portal on who fits our culture more than we do who fits our talent level. There's tons of talented guys out there. We just want to find people that want to fit our culture and really our ethic, because it's not a place to go to if you're just looking for sheer numbers. I mean, you got to want to win, and you got to want to make sacrifices for the team here.
Right, final time for Ted Lewis. Ted, did you have a question for us? All right, we'll go to Anthony Dasher.
All right, hey Coach. We obviously saw Coach Muschamp on the sideline yesterday. Did he have any kind of added impact on the game, the defensive situation yesterday?
Leland, we couldn't hear him there.
Can you hear me okay now?
I think Kirby's muted.
Yeah, Kirby's
Kirby's
muted.
muted.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is that it? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I don't know what happened there. Somebody may have muted me from a ghost man, but he didn't. I mean, he was there. Yeah, he did a great job for us. He was on the headphones. I think he felt like he needed to, because he had not been in a lot of games, so he stayed kind of apart from things, but he still helps get information and helps us out during the game in terms of adjustments and things like that.
Okay, everybody, that'll be it for today. Thanks everybody for tuning in.